We will now move to the motion before the House this evening, which is, this House believes the Arab world has abandoned the Palestinian people. I now look to the first speaker, member of Secretary's Committee, Adam Wilkinson Hill, Jesus College, to open the case for the proposition.
Diolch, Mr Alawith. Thank you, Mr President, for giving me the opportunity to speak in this evening's debate. It's a great honour to be able to speak on such an important motion in this historic debating chamber, alongside such distinguished guests, as part of the first debate of Hillary Term 2019. I want to wish you, the Librarian, Treasurer and Secretary, all the best for this term. Mr President, when we look at the motion being debated this evening, it is important to remember that this is not a debate about the situation between Israel and Palestine. In fact, it is quite possible to be on either side of a debate on that topic whilst being united on the response to the question of whether the Arab world has failed the Palestinian people. What we are debating is how the Arab world has treated the Palestinian people. Israel may come into this, but it is definitely not the focus. For a long time, Arab countries across the Middle East have consistently allied themselves with the Palestinian territories. Yet, whilst many promises have been made, few have been kept. I directly quote Dr. Ghada Karmi from a previous debate in which she spoke, when she said, "Arabs must not be afraid to be self-critical and face their faults honestly. Yes, the Arab governments have failed the Palestinians." When we speak of the Arab world, we refer to the 22 members of the Arab League, ranging from Morocco in the north of Africa to Somalia on the Horn and the countries of the Arabian Peninsula, which include the Palestinian territories, in which around 5 million of the 12 million Palestinians live. As well as being an ethno-national group, the Palestinians have developed a unique cultural identity, which, according to legal historian Asaf Lichovsky, originated in the early decades of the 20th century, although some claim it can be traced back as far as the 1834 Arab Revolt. The Palestinian people have significant populations in the Palestinian territories, as well as Jordan, Syria, Chile, Lebanon, and the United States, whilst the United Kingdom has a population of around 20,000. And Mr. President, when we speak of failure, we are talking about neglect. It is a state or condition of not meeting a desired or intended objective. And so following this definition, it is evident that the Palestinian people have been failed by the Arab world. This evening, I'll make three arguments as to why I believe that the Arab world has failed the Palestinian people. Firstly, the Arab world has failed the Palestinian people because they've exploited the Palestinian cause to further their own interests. Secondly, they have failed the Palestinian people because they've done little to alleviate Palestinian suffering. And lastly, as Arab countries begin to establish closer ties with the State of Israel, one must question whether through recent developments of Middle Eastern geopolitics, they will go on to fail the Palestinian people ever more, as the cause becomes less and less politically expedient. But before I go any further, it is my honour to introduce the opposition for this evening's debate. Speaking first for the opposition is Chaitanya Kedial, the first elected member of the Union Standing Committee and a second-year law student at Exeter College. A seasoned mooter and debater, KD seems to have emerged from his union career pretty unscathed. Despite asking around on Union Committee for embarrassing stories, the only quote I could get from anyone was that unlike the Oxford Union, he has integrity and principles in abundance. Though this definitely makes me nervous for whatever quotes he has about me. Speaking next is British Iraqi rapper Kareem Danis, better known by his stage name Low-Key. He has performed not only at festivals such as Glastonbury and Tea in the Park, but has also, according to the internet, performed live in Venezuela at the request of Hugo Chavez. So it's definitely not the first time he's accepted an invitation from an organisation with a bit of a dodgy democratic past. Speaking next for the opposition will be Dr. Ghada Karmi, a Palestinian doctor of medicine, an author and academic who is a fellow and lecturer of Arab and Islamic Studies at the University of Exeter and has previously continues to serve as the vice chair for the Council of Arab-British Understanding. A prominent critic of Zionism, Dr. Karmi also expressed great opposition to English football fans during the World Cup last year, calling them unreconstructed racists. I guess she just has a problem with things coming home. Finally, we'll be hearing from Mr. Kito Deboa, the former, Mr. Kito Deboa, appointed as head of the mission for the Office of the Quartet, the foursome of nation that mediates between Israelis and Palestinians by former Prime Minister Tony Blair in January 2015, and serving until 2017, Mr. Deboa was seen as an objective and independent arbitrator. He is extremely well respected for his contribution to international relations and his effort in tackling one of the most difficult subjects in the Middle East, if not the world. Mr. President, these are your guests, and they are, of course, most welcome. Mr. President, in this debate, the Palestinian people are not players. They are the pawns of Arab countries that are using them for their own ends, and they are unable to defend themselves. Across the Arab world, the Palestinian cause has all too often been used cynically by Arab governments as a rallying cry, a diversion, an excuse and a cover for the internal repression that is widespread across a number of Arab regimes. Fetishizing images of the dead and the dying, whilst at the same time Palestinians have been feared, at times hated, and all too often persecuted across the Arab world. It is shameful that Arab governments have consistently encouraged Palestinians, the Palestinian national movement, to adopt many self-defeating strategies for themselves under the guise that it will somehow help them pursue their aims. Countries have promoted a militarized rhetoric towards Palestinians, encouraging them with both words and weapons to live in a fantasy world in which armed struggle is the only way to realize their goals. In the very worst case, martyrdom has been encouraged as a response to the difficulties that many Palestinians face. From the 30th of March 2018, Palestinian protesters assembled in the Gaza Strip. Whilst the majority of the protesters were peaceful, others were influenced by Hamas, partially funded by groups from Saudi Arabia and Qatar who exploited their suffering. Hamas spokesperson Hazim Qasim confirmed the offering of financial incentives, ranging from $3,000 to the family of those killed whilst protesting Israel, almost 3 times the national average wage in Palestine, to $500 for those critically injured. Countries like Saudi Arabia, an absolute monarchy, fear stability in the region, and so cynically manipulate vulnerable Palestinians to promote the anti-Israeli sentiments of a number of Arab countries, in the process sacrificing Palestinian lives. Were tensions to decrease in the area, the calls for democratization would very surely become stronger, and thus continued instability in the region plays into the hands of these autocratic regimes. How dare a country claim to have the aim of the liberation of the Palestinian people at heart whilst capitalizing on death and misery? It is truly a shameful situation and is exactly indicative of why I believe that the Arab world has failed the Palestinian people. Secondly, whilst Arab countries may well have been very vocal about their support of the Palestinian people, they have routinely failed to support them both materially and also with regard to the rights of Palestinians within their own borders. Be it Lebanon, Egypt, Syria, Jordan or Libya, Palestinians are routinely and harshly discriminated against by Arab governments. In all Arab nations except Jordan, Palestinians are unable to become citizens, a clear violation of Article 7 of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, and a clear failure which prioritizes dogmatic ideological commitment in the name of preserving the Palestinian entity and identity, whilst routinely discriminating against those who they claim they want to help. Equally, there has been clear discrimination against Palestinians in Lebanon. Indeed, since 1962, they have been solely classified as foreigners. From 1962 until 2010, 73 job categories, ranging from medicine, the law, and engineering, were barred for Palestinians. And although since 2010 the number has reduced, it is only reduced to 50, such as pharmacy and journalism. Not only are Palestinians prevented from getting jobs, but even their homes are not safe. In 2007, some 31,000 Palestinians were left homeless after the Lebanese army destroyed the Nar el-Barad camp. How they can classify this as support for the Palestinian people is beyond me. I can give you countless more examples of how the Arab world has routinely failed to support the Palestinian people. For instance, in 2011 in Libya, Palestinians were forced to pay a special tax of up to $1,550 a year. Furthermore, just 1 year later, wide-ranging property disputes hit Palestinian refugees the hardest. And the Palestinian refugees have suffered greatly in the civil war. Since 2012 in Syria, some 2,600 Palestinians have been killed, whilst many others are left starving as forces cut food and water supplies to the Yarmouk camp, which was under siege for over 150 days. Arab donors have pledged millions upon millions for the reconstruction of the Palestinian territory of the Gaza Strip, which witnessed heavy infrastructural damage in the 2014 Gaza war, alongside US, EU and worldwide counterparts. The World Bank Trust has given grants of $118 million. The EU gave $50 million. The United States $20 million, but only one Arab country has donated what they pledged. Last year, both Algeria and Tunisia gave nothing to the United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestinian Refugees, whilst the United States gave $367 million and Egypt only $20,000. Instead, the diplomatic focus of Arab governments has changed, as geopolitics has shifted and they continue to fail the Palestinian people. Lastly, for many Arab countries, supporting the Palestinian cause has become less and less politically expedient, both domestically and in terms of foreign policy. With the Arab Spring uprisings in the not-too-distant past, Wars in Iraq, Syria and Yemen, the threat of Islamic terrorism ever present, as well as the contest between Saudi Arabia and Iran for regional dominancy, states across the Arab world have been more concerned with their sectarian and ideological divisions than supporting the plight of the suffering Palestinians. They have found that their anti-Iranian, pro-United States interests are increasingly overlapping with the interests of the State of Israel, leading them to lose sight with the Palestinian suffering. At the same time, it seems that the right-wing government of Benjamin Netanyahu is reversing the notion that peace with the Palestinians is the only way for the Arab world to accept the State of Israel. Instead, many governments of the Arab world are forging ever closer relations with Israel, once their most hated enemy. From cooperation in security matters between Israel and Saudi Arabia under the new Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and an Egypt-Israeli effort on blockading the Gaza Strip during the 2014 war, as the Palestinian cause has become less politically expedient, Arab support for the Palestinians has waned. Notice the relatively quiet reaction of Saudi Arabia when the United States controversially moved their embassy to Jerusalem. Regardless of one's views on the status of the holy city, the timing of the move has made it controversial and a diplomatic mistake. Whilst there was a formal statement of opposition to the move from the Arab League, the reaction was nowhere near what one would have expected just 10 or 20 years ago. Clear evidence that the Arab world continues to increasingly fail the Palestinian people and view their cause as less than worthwhile. It's a clear message to the Palestinians: they don't care. Furthermore, Crown Prince bin Salman has been highly critical of Palestinian leadership. During a meeting with American Jewish organizations in New York, bin Salman reportedly slammed President Mahmoud Abbas for rejecting peace offers, saying that it is time for the Palestinians to take whatever peace offer they are offered, and for Palestinians to shut up and stop complaining. The complete dismissal of the Palestinian suffering and pain by the Arab world summed up in 5 words: shut up and stop complaining. It is crystal clear that the Palestinians have been failed by those who for so long claimed to have had their interests at heart. A change in relations between Israel and Egypt has also been notable. A relationship of cold peace since the signing of the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty in 1979. The two countries have grown closer through ever-increasing cooperation. In 2009, during the Gaza war, the Egyptian government closed off their border to Gazan trade, civilian traffic and humanitarian access, partaking in the blockade of the Gaza Strip just as they did more recently in 2014. It is evident to see that efforts for peace in the region through means of cooling diplomatic relations with Israel to a certain extent is caused little more by a desire for a strategic reorientation towards the United States. As a stronger relationship between Trump and Egyptian President Abdel el-Sisi forms, this further shows how the Arab world is pursuing their own interests at the expense of the Palestinian people. Mr. President, this evening we have heard about Palestinians being denied citizenship in countries who claim to support their cause. We have been told about the millions of dollars pledged to rebuilding bombed and broken Palestinian cities and towns, which has repeatedly failed to materialize. We have seen countries who once pushed for sanctions and international punishment against the State of Israel becoming less vocal on the Israeli-Palestinian issue, and as a consequence have all but thrown Palestinians under the bus. The Arab world has failed, continues to fail, and likely will fail the Palestinian people in the future unless it is in those countries' interests that also the Palestinians have interest. For too long, the Palestinian people have been the pawns of these countries, and for what benefit? The Palestinian people are certainly no closer to returning to any situation similar to that of 1948. It is abundantly clear that the Arab world has failed the Palestinian people. That is why I urge you to vote with the proposition tonight.